Welcome to the next lecture of international institutions. Under the unit of international institutions, we are going to cover IMF, World Bank, then we will cover the BRICS Bank. The BRICS Bank has been renamed as the New Development Bank. Then we will discuss the AIIB, Asia Infrastructure and Investment Bank. Then we will discuss some other international organizations like WTO, the structure of WTO, GATT, TRIPS, etc. we will discuss. Then we will discuss the agreement on agriculture, Doha round. Then we will discuss the National Food Security Act issue that is going on in WTO. So all these things we will discuss in this particular unit. So now we will discuss, first we will discuss IMF. So when IMF and World Bank, they are regarded as the Bretton Woods twins, because a meeting was held in 1944 and these two institutions, they were established. So WTO and IMF, they were the outcome of World War II, because when this World War II stopped, after that a need was felt of the international institutions. A lot of destruction took place in World War II. So to redevelop, for the redevelopment of the war ravaged countries, this IMF and World Bank, they were established. So IMF, there are major functions of IMF. What was the role of the IMF? So what's first function of IMF is, it is the international monetary cooperation. So whatever different countries we have, so they should cooperate in the terms of monetary terms. So that is what one of the function of IMF. Then to promote the exchange rate stability. For example, whether $1 equals to 40 rupees and then it becomes 50 rupees and then it becomes 30 rupees. So to promote exchange rate stability is one more function of the IMF. So maybe IMF will subscribe, IMF will guide this particular country how to make the exchange rate stable. Then to eliminate the restrictions, is also one of the trade barriers. The elimination of the trade barriers is also the function of WTO. But here restrictions means this conversion, the financial restrictions, the exchange rate restrictions. So this is one of the function of the IMF. And to establish a multilateral system of payments. It's not like all the exchanges, all the trade should be done only in dollar. You should provide multiple options. It can be done in SDR. Then few countries like India and Japan, the international, why dollar is regarded as international currency? Because even if you want to do a trade, India wants to do a trade with Sri Lanka, or India wants to do a trade with China, or maybe to Kazakhstan, whatever trade you want to do, you have to pay in dollar only. So few countries just like India and Japan, we have signed the currency swap agreement. It means we will accept the currency of Japan and Japan will accept our currency. So that currency swap agreement, all these other options should be there. It should not be the dictate of USA that only dollar can be used. So to establish multilateral system of payments. And then in case of BOP crisis, India also faced in 1991 the BOP crisis, balance of payment. So in case of balance of payment crisis means, this is India, my export is less and my import is more. So if I'm importing more commodities, whenever you import, you have to pay in dollar, but I don't have the dollar. So from where you will get the dollar? Either you file bankruptcy or you will stop importing the commodities. That is not possible, because oil we import, because we don't have the natural oil reserves. So whatever import you have to do in dollar. You have to pay in dollar. So from where you can get the dollar? Take the dollar, take loan in the terms of dollar. But who will give you the loan? No other country will give you the loan, because your financial condition is not good. So IMF will give you the loan. So in case of balance of payment crisis, in detail we will cover in the BOP unit, that BOP crisis, whenever BOP crisis will take place, IMF will give you the loan. But in case of economics, there is no free lunch. When there is no free lunch, so IMF will give you the amount, IMF will give you the loan, not a problem. But IMF will dictate that you have to fulfill all these criteria, then only I will give you the loan. So these international organizations or these Bretton Woods twins, they will give you the loan, but they will put some restrictions over it. So these are the functions of the IMF. Then the second thing is, we will discuss about how can you become a member of IMF. What are the conditions that you have to fulfill? How IMF is going to decide the subscribed amount, the subscription fees, the admission fees, for example. So if you want to become a member, IMF itself, there is a governance board of IMF having 24 directors. So these 24 directors, they will decide the quota. What will be the quota of India, and how they will decide? They will decide through multiple ways. What is your contribution? What is the contribution of your GDP in the world? How much trade barriers you have? What is the stability of your currency? So n number of parameters are there. On the basis of these parameters, IMF board, this governance board, will decide the quota of the country, and accordingly they will decide the subscription amount. So this is being decided by the IMF only, your subscription amount. If the GDP, the contribution of India's GDP in the world increases, so might be IMF will increase your quota. So quota is being decided by the IMF board. So you will pay the subscription amount. So in what form you will pay the subscription amount? Usually it is being paid in the terms of dollar plus some percentage. Some percentage you can pay in the local currency as well. So when you will pay the subscription amount, you will become the member of IMF. By default, not all the countries, they are the member of IMF. So at present there are 189 members. Earlier 188 members. Nauru is the last member. Nauru is a country. Nauru is the last member, and now we have total 189 countries in IMF. Same 189 countries are there in World Bank also. So IMF board is going to decide your quota. At present, recently, very recently, the IMF board has increased the share of the quota or the voting rights of India from 2.4% to 2.7%. And India became at the 9th position. So USA, again the Papa, USA is having more than 17% of the voting rights. So India is at the 9th position. Voting power has just increased from 2.4% to 2.7%. In detail we will discuss in the reforms. Then you will get the quota, and after this quota you will also be eligible for the loan. And what will be the value of this loan? The loan amount is 200% of this subscription amount annually, and 600% is total. Suppose your subscription amount is 100 rupees. So at max in 1 year you can take a loan of 200 rupees. So suppose in 2016 you took a loan of 200, 2017 also you can take a loan of 200, 2018 also you can take a loan of 200. But in 2019, unless and until you repay out of the 600, you cannot take any more loan. So this is what 200% is annually, 200% of the subscription amount, and 600% is the total loan. Then you will also get SDR. So SDR is a virtual currency, special drawing rights. So they are being issued by IMF when you will become a member of the IMF. So SDR is nothing but it will be 200% of your subscription amount. Then we have one more thing, that is known as reserve tranche. So reserve tranche is nothing but it is a certain percentage of your eligibility. It is roughly 25%. Whatever amount of loan that you can take, almost 25% of that particular loan amount you can avail without even the permission of IMF. Otherwise, in this case, you have to take the permission of IMF. But 25% comes under your discretionary power. Your means India, whatever the member country. So 25% you can withdraw from the IMF without even taking the permission of IMF. And it's not like in very short amount of time you have to return it. No, it's not that the case. So you can withdraw it as per your wish, and that is why there is a restriction. So 25% of the eligible loan will be at the discretion of India, and India can take it as per the wishes. So this is known as reserve tranche. Then we have forex. When I'm saying the forex of India is $350 billion, what exactly this forex means? This forex means these four things. It means the foreign exchange, the foreign currency. After this foreign currency, gold, then SDR, and this reserve tranche. So these four components, they are known as the forex. So by adding these four things, we have a forex reserve of $350 billion. So this is how you can become a member of IMF, and what four benefits that you will get if you becomes the member of the IMF. Then the recent reforms, what was the need of the reform, and what all steps, what all reforms recently accepted by the IMF. The first thing is the governance. Governance means we have a board, governance of board, executive board. So there are 24 members. The thing is, the 5 permanent member of United Nations Security Council, UNSC, we have the 5, we can say the 5 winners of World War II. What are these 5 members of UNSC? They are like, we have USA, then we have, after USA we have UK, then we have France, then we have Russia, and then we have China. So these are the 5 permanent members of United Nations Security Council. So the provision is these 5 countries, they will nominate. There will not be any election of these 5 members. So 5 out of 24, they were being nominated by these 5 permanent members of United Nations Security Council, UNSC. I think in the structure of UNSC will be covered in the polity section. So India is also saying that we should also become a member of UNSC. Then Coffee and Naan plan is there. Different options are there. At present, there are 5 permanent members and 10 temporary members. They are being elected for 2 years. Anyways, so 5 members were being nominated by the 5 UNSC permanent members. So at present, after these reforms, this has been abolished. But the thing is, if you want to change it, if the 5 members who are being nominated by this, what you need is, you need 70% of the voting rights. If 70% members, 70% voting of IMF will decide that you need reforms in the governance, then only it can be done. And only the G7 countries, they have 40% voting rights. But anyways, this has been accepted recently. Then the quota system. If you want to reform the quota system, actually the need or the demand of change in quota system, it has been arrived after the recent recession of 2008. After recession of 2008, the bargaining power of the developing countries, which means China, which means India, which means Brazil, somehow we can say Russia also, not that good, but still they are good in comparison to the European countries. So all these big China is the second largest economy of the world. In PPP terms, China is the world's largest country, but the share, the voting of the China is at 6th position. So China, the world's largest economy in PPP terms, is at the 6th position. So these developing countries, they want that this quota system, it should be reformed. But the problem is, if you want to reform the quota system, you need 85% of the vote. And USA alone, we discussed this, Papa alone, USA is having more than 17% of the voting right. So unless and until USA agrees to reform the quota system of IMF, this cannot be reformed. So we can say there is a dictation of the developed countries in IMF. Similarly, there is also a dictation of developed countries in World Bank also. And whenever any international organization will not be sync with the present circumstances, so the role of that international organization is going to diminish. The similar thing happened in case of League of Nations. After World War I, League of Nations came, but because League of Nations was not in sync with that particular condition, that 1930 depression, the rise of Hitler and all this thing, it was not in sync with that particular milieu, the environment, and that is why it vanished. Similar thing happens everywhere. If whatever international organization will not be in sync, will not accept the present circumstances of the world, that the relevance of that organization is going to diminish. The same thing happened with IMF and World Bank. The role of these two organizations is diminishing slowly, and in new regional banks, just like we have BRICS Bank. BRICS Bank has been renamed as New Development Bank. So the say of BRICS Bank is going to increase, because in BRICS Bank we have 5 major countries. We have Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. They contribute, this group of nations, they contribute 20% GDP of the world and 40% of the population. So it's a huge chunk of, with respect to the politics as well as with respect to the economics. So you cannot ignore these guys. If you will ignore it, and if the World Bank and IMF, they will continue dictating their terms, so their role is going to diminish. That is what happened in case of United Nations also. When the say of United Nations, when the UNSC, it stopped working or was not working because of that Russia versus USA angle, so the role, the significance of UNSC has decreased. Otherwise, this full Arab world, the Syria crisis, Syria is facing, millions of people have died since 2011. That Arab Spring, same thing happened. Anyways, that is from the international point of view. After this IMF, the next international institution we will discuss is World Bank. World Bank, again, Bretton Woods twins, established in 1947. World Bank is not only a single bank, it is a group of 5 countries. It is a family. The first one is IBRD. So IBRD is the oldest one. It was established in 1945. By default, all the countries, they are member of World Bank. We have 189 members of World Bank. So IBRD was established in 1945, and what was the purpose of setting up of IBRD was that whatever the war-ravaged countries, their development was required at that time, or that was the purpose of setting up of IBRD. And World Bank is World Without Poverty. That is the tagline. So World Bank wants to remove the poverty from the world, just like IMF wants to put that multilateral institutions is there, BOP crisis, just like the functions of IMF. Similarly, the role, the significance of World Bank, according to the role or the functions of World Bank, they have set up 5 different institutions. So IBRD, earlier the role was the development of war-ravaged countries. Now, because after 60-70 years, majority of the development has been done, so now it has shifted to poverty alleviation, family planning, health and all these things. So now the focus has changed, and IBRD gives the loan at very low interest rate, 1 or 2%. For 8 to 10 years they will give you the loan, but the rate of interest is very less. And you know, after that nuclear bomb attack in Japan, Japan took loan from IBRD. Japan took a lot of loan from IBRD, but finally after even 10-12 years, Japan is a big contributor. Japan donates a lot of money in the IBRD. Then the second one is IDA. International, IBRD is International Bank for IDA is International Development Agency. So it was established in 1960. And what is the role of International Development Agency? As the name shows, it is for the infrastructure purpose. If suppose tomorrow you want to build a big highway from Jammu Kashmir to Kanyakumari, so for that you can take a loan from IDA. But the problem is IDA will give you the loan and the return time, majority time is even 40 years. But IDA will give you the loan only and only if the country's per capita income is less than $865. So India borrowed a lot, but now because our per capita income is roughly $1,500, so now we cannot avail a loan from IDA. But we borrowed more than $90 billion loan from IDA. Then the third one is IFC, International Finance Corporation, established in 1956. So International Finance Corporation, it means it is going to finance something. So IFC is going to finance the private institutions, the private companies. So private companies can take a loan from IFC. So the rate of interest is high, but less than the rate of interest which is available in the market. So market rate will be more. You will get a loan from International Finance Corporation. It means any private agency, any private company can take a loan. They will give you the loan as well as they will give you some advice also. Then we have the MIGA, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. So it means suppose Africa is there. Why an Infosys wants to invest in Africa? Why Infosys will invest when Infosys knows that there are lots of political risk. There is lot risk related to the war. Out of this Congo, Burundi, and all this, they fight with each other. So why Infosys? Why any private investment will go there in the Africa or the poor country? So this MIGA will give you the insurance. So MIGA will give insurance to the private investor for non-commercial risk. Non-commercial risk means it's not like tomorrow Infosys wants to go and invest in Africa and they file bankruptcy because of the inefficiency of the working of Infosys. In that case, you will not get the insurance. But suppose tomorrow Infosys wants to invest in Congo, in Nigeria, and Nigeria is facing a problem of Boko Haram. So that external war is there. So in that case, some political risk is there. So that insurance will be provided by MIGA. Then the fourth one, ICSID. MIGA is the latest one, established in 1988. Then we have ICSID. So ICSID, it's a type of adjudicating the cases. Suppose there are two countries are there and there is some issue. So ICSID is going to adjudicate the cases. The recommendations or the decisions of the ICSID, they are binding on the two parties if they have agreed for the arbitration. But India is not a member of ICSID. ICSID is International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes. So if there are some investment disputes, that will be settled by this body. But India is not a member. Why India is not a member? Because India has already signed BIPA, Bilateral Investment and Protection Agreement, with more than 70 or 80 countries. So bilaterally we are solving the issues with the countries rather than having a independent body which is under the World Bank. So India is not a member of ICSID. So let's revise what is the role of all these institutions. IBRD is for the, earlier the role was for war ravaged countries, now it is for the development, for the agriculture, for the health, for the poverty, for the family planning. This is what the present role is. Oldest one 1945. Then we have International Development Agency. IDA, earlier we were getting a loan from IDA, but now we don't we can't take a loan from IDA because our per capita income is more. Then we have IFC, International Finance Corporation. IFC will lend to the private companies. The rate of interest is more, but they will get the rate of interest will be less than the market rate. Then we have MIGA, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. So they will give you the insurance. They will give the insurance to the private companies for non-commercial risk like war and all these things. Then we have ICSID, that is International Center for Settlement of and Investment Disputes, established in 1966. The oldest one is IBRD 45, latest one is MIGA 1988. Then we will discuss about the difference between IMF and World Bank. IMF is here and this is what we have, the World Bank. So IMF is a cooperative institution and World Bank is a development institutions. There are no subsidiaries of, there are 5 subsidiaries of the World Bank. These are the 5 subsidiaries of the World Bank. IMF is a consequence of 1930 Great Depression, whereas World Bank is a consequence of World War I and World War II. Then in case of IMF, the repayment time is less, it's 3 to 5 years. In case of World Bank, it is as high as 40 years in case of IDA, but roughly we can say its repayment time is more than 10 years. Then any country, any member can take a loan, but in this case few conditions are there, just like IDA has put some conditions. So if you become a member of IMF, you can take a loan from IMF, but that is not the scenario in case of World Bank, because World Bank gives you loan at low interest rate. So World Bank will give only to the